Bum 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 bum. Oh, hello, code conductors. Welcome back to WebDev TNT. In our last lesson, we arrived places. Transforms were all about the destination. Translate here, rotate there, scale this thing until it's massively massive. But today isn't about where we end up. It's about the journey, the glide, the drift, the delicious in between where the magic actually happens. Think of it like flow, not snap, interpolation, not teleportation. Less zap me to the finish line, more watch this neon spell swirl through the air until it gets there. We won't have any enchanted cleaning supplies marching across the screen, but we're absolutely going to conjure up some motion now. So, charge your wand, tighten your gravity boots, and let's fire up the Transit Ion Drive. Our UI is about to get a move on.
Out here on the neon star grid, even the elephants can fly. Not by flopping their wings, but by shifting states. See, every motion begins with a spark, a change, a single decision in the code. And when that change happens, well, the transition drive lights up and the universe just bends into this smooth, glowing motion.
It's not rocket science, quite. It's better. It's CSS Rocket Ballet.
All right, let's get into it. For the next few minutes, we're going to harness that very energy. We're going to learn how to create this exact kind of intentional, readable, and let's be honest, fun movement using CSS transitions. Think of this as the bridge, the first step between a static design and full-blown animation.
If you want to follow along with the demos, this is your cue to grab the repo, link below, like the video to show some love, and subscribe to the channel to stay in the loop for updates and more. You'll also want to bookmark webdevtnt.professorsolo.com. I'm going to jump back and forth between a couple of those places so we can explore these together. Let's glide.
Every flight, right? It all begins with understanding the engine. In our universe, the Transion drive is built from 4 core components. You master these 4 things, and I promise you can control any motion from here to there.
So what is a transition, really? It's the engine that powers the glide. It's the little piece of code that tells the browser, hey, listen up. Don't just snap from point A to point B. No. I want you to fill in the gaps. I want you to flow gracefully between those 2 states.
And here it is, the whole control panel. First up, you've got the property. What are we actually changing here? The color, the size, the position? Then duration. How long does this ion burn last? Is it a quick little zap or a long cinematic drift? Third, the timing function. This is the personality. And last but not least, the delay, our countdown to ignition.
And you know what? Most of the time, you're just going to use this one clean line of code. This is the shorthand. It's always in this order. Property, duration, timing function, delay. Just remember that. It's the main control panel for our drive, super compact and totally predictable.
Let's actually take the controls for a second and look at a transition in action. For this one, you'll want to fire up the demo repo and open chapter 1, Ions in Transit, and open it with your local server. Here we go. Here is our first transition. We've got our space fox beaming in. Just hover over the box, and there it is. Smooth like butter. Now, before we move on, I want to just open up the inspector on this and show you that transition in place. Here we go. Transition shorthand. We're transitioning the opacity over 480 milliseconds using an ease out timing function. We're also, in this little demo, transitioning the transform over 480 milliseconds, so they're both happening at the same time. And for this one, we're using a cubic-bezier timing function. We're going to look at those in more detail in a moment, but before we do that, let's just jump in here, and I want to edit this transition. So I'm going to click on Transition, tab over there, and instead of 480 milliseconds, let's set this so that the opacity itself is going to happen over 3 seconds. Hit enter. That should be set now, and there we go. We have a much slower arrival, even though the scaling, the transform, is happening at the same speed. Let's take it back and see what the next step is.
Let's keep going, because this is where it gets really expressive. Timing functions, these are the soul of the machine. They don't change where you're going or how long it takes to get there, but they absolutely define the vibe of the journey. So let's look at the two big ones. You've got linear, which is just pure mechanics. Constant speed, no acceleration, kind of robotic. It's the autopilot. But then you have ease, which is the default, by the way. And it feels so organic. It starts smooth and it ends smooth. It just feels right, you know? Because that's how things actually move in the real world.
And yeah, there's a whole family of these things. Ease in is like, bam, it just rockets forward. Ease out is my favorite for UI. Perfect for when you want things to come to a nice soft landing. And ease in out is kind of the diplomat, you know? Gentle start and a gentle finish.
But what if you want to get weird with it? What if the standard modes just aren't enough? Well, then you grab cubic-bezier. This is where you go off script. You can craft curves that overshoot or bounce or feel super snappy. You want a truly unhinged motion? This is the tool for that.
Okay, gotta stop you there. It's cubic-bezier. A, like Canadian. A. I've got a great resource for you. I didn't build this one. For you to explore cubic-beziers. And it's also an opportunity for me to explain how they work. Here we have one. We have a start point and an end point. Everything has a beginning and an end. Those are the values for our transition property at the beginning and end of the duration. Time here is flowing on the horizontal scale, axis, and the progression of the value glides on the vertical. We also have our two control handles, and we can set them as we need to. And that defines how we progress through time. In this case, as time flows forward, our progress is actually going negative. We can do as much of that as we want, but we only have the start point, the end point, and those two handles. When we get it right, we can make it so that things overshoot or they flow backwards at the beginning. It can be a lot of fun. I did mention sorcery, didn't I? Let's take a step back and talk steps for a moment now.
Okay, so smooth glides, we got that. But what if you don't want smooth? Sometimes you need something different. So now, let's get choppy. We're about to leave the world of graceful curves behind and learn how to make our elements jump through time in these discrete, kind of robotic steps. Say hello to the steps timing function. Instead of that smooth transition, this thing literally slices the animation into a specific number of frames. Your element doesn't glide, it teleports. This is absolutely perfect for things like sprite sheet animations, like old video games, or chunky progress bars, or any kind of cool glitchy effect.
Okay, but here's the key thing you gotta remember. When does the jump actually happen? With steps end start, the rocket jumps to that first frame immediately, then it waits. But with steps end end, it waits for a moment, and then it jumps at the very end of that first slice. It's the same duration, same distance, but a totally different feel.
Yeah, back to teleportation. We're just taking steps from the beginning to end this time. And with that, we can set up our retro flipbook sprite sheet in pixelated harmony. Take a quick look at it here in chapter 2 of the demo, and we can actually see, we got to come back down to the ground, and let's launch our AstroCAD. There we go. Each of them is taking 4 steps, but the one on the left jumps at the start, and the one on the right jumps at the end. Back to Notebook. We've got a little ways to go.
All right, enough theory. Let's build something. We get the engine, we know its personality modes. Now it's time to combine our transition drive with transforms and cook up some powerful, practical motion recipes.
If you want to follow along with these motion recipes, you're going to need to jump over to webdevtnt.professorsolo.com. I've got them set up here, motion recipes. Navigate your way to the motion recipes page, and you can see what's going on.
First up, the glide. Now check this out. We're transitioning 2 properties at once. See that comma? We're telling it to change the transform and the opacity. This is how you get that classic effect where something slides in and fades into view at the exact same time. It's just a beautiful, soft entry for any UI element.
Next, we've got the bounce. Oh, this one is just pure interaction joy. All we're doing on hover is nudging the element up a little bit and scaling it just a touch. But when you pair that with a transition, you get this delightful, playful hop that really makes an interface feel alive.
Okay, quick pit stop. A super important performance tip. For the smoothest possible flight, you want to stick to transitioning properties that the GPU loves, like transform and opacity. And here's a big word of warning from Professor Solo. Be careful with transition all. It can be spicy. It seems easy, but it forces the browser to watch everything, which can really lead to lag. So be specific.
That's right. Transform and opacity are the GPU's wheelhouse. They can do those no reflow, no worries. But if you do resort to transitional, you are forcing the browser to monitor your entire DOM. No thanks. Let's wrap this up with a wrap-up sequence.
So far, we've been moving one thing at a time, and that's cool. But now, let's get ambitious. Let's become choreographers. By using that delay component on our engine, we can create these stunning, complex sequences where lots of elements move together in a kind of cosmic dance.
And the secret here? It's ridiculously simple. We're applying the exact same transition to all 4 of our pachyderm astronauts. The only thing that's different, we give each one a slightly longer transition delay. And the result is this beautiful, staggered, wave-like launch sequence that's all triggered by a single event.
And get this, you can do this on a single element too. It's called chaining. Look here. The transform starts right away and takes 400 milliseconds. But the opacity, it waits 180 milliseconds before it even begins its own shorter transition. This creates this awesome little micro cascade. The element moves, and then it fades in.
Micro cascade? I think so. Go, Heffalump, go. Less fun, but more practical. I've got another micro cascade for you. Pachyderm, Heffalump, Oliphant, Estrodon, Bippity Boppity Boo. Okay, let's go on.
All right, crew, huddle up. We've traveled pretty far across the star grid today. Let's run a quick diagnostic, debrief the mission, and then we'll plot a course for our next big destination.
So, what's the big takeaway? 1. Transitions are the smooth bridge between 2 CSS states. 2. The engine has 4 knobs you can turn: property, duration, timing, and delay. 3. Timing functions like ease or steps give your motion personality. And 4. Delay is your secret weapon for turning simple movements into incredible choreography.
So you've got this. You can get from point A to point B like a pro. You can glide, you can jump, you can choreograph an entire fleet. But what happens when you need a whole flight path? From A to B to C and beyond, all in one continuous, elegant motion. Well, my friends, that is our next mission.
P.S. Keep learning.
And that's a wrap on ion drive transitions, dear star pilots. We have learned how to set the pace, shape the glide, and ease your UI into motion that feels alive. Something smooth and cinematic, sometimes snappy and playful. Always intentional. Transitions are where the tiny performances happen. Those little glides, hops, sparkles, and micro moments that make a UI feel like it has a heartbeat. Especially when a big-eyed space creature decides to float through the flame on a very confident cubic-bezier. Our next mission will be animation. Full flight paths, big arcs, neon story telling from A to B to C and beyond. A whole cosmic fantasia, the legally distinct kind, of motion. Don't forget to tune in and ease on out with style. And P.S., keep learning.